Realize that I'm doing things much earlier than I normally would, and I'm not doing my usual thing where I wait for people to show up. But uh I do want this to be sort of a more off the cuff than usual, and I don't really want to have to repeat myself on this, because I've already had discussions about this with a few people and I'm going to be repeating and I've done research into this, so I'm going to be repeating a lot of points I've already talked about, just not on this channel. And while I usually avoid being that guy who just talks about whatever's currently hip and in and commonly talked about on the internet, I feel like I have enough personal thoughts on the matter that I do want to discuss them. Also, quick announcement. Apparently where I live, there's an actual arcade cabinet for this pinball machine. So I'm also doubling this as training to get good at this. Should I turn sound effects on if I'm going to be training? Yeah. But either way, so when it comes to Pokemon Sword and Shield, just as a recap, here is what's going on as I personally understand it from according to Game Freak in their official announcements. Pokemon Sword and Shield will not have a national dex. They will not have a national dex to focus on animations and graphical fidelity. This is what Game Freak and the Pokemon Company have said, as far as I am aware. And and I currently have no reason to believe otherwise. Well, that's not true. What I mean is that I currently have no reason to believe that they have announced anything else on the matter yet. So, as for my own personal thoughts, I want to get one thing out of the way. Under normal circumstances, I would not care if there was no national dex. Let me repeat that. Under normal circumstances, I would not care if there is no national dex. For two reasons. One, I personally don't play Pokemon games enough where the national dex comes into play with how I personally play Pokemon. That's the personal reason. Also, from an artistic standpoint, if there would be no national dex to make a region, or if there was no national dex to make a region feel more unique and exclusive, I think that is okay. If the goal was that they wanted Galar to be Unova 2.0, where only new Pokemon and maybe a select number of old ones showed up, then that would be okay with me. Because, the way I see it, if they want their region to feel a certain way, and give off a vibe of this place is different from the rest of the world, then that's their prerogative, whatever. In Pokemon Sword and Shield specifically, I am not okay with the lack of a national dex, however, because their reason is stupid. and a lie. So let me elaborate. As a lot of people are probably already aware, don't mind me, I'm just flipping around my camera because that current camera is awful. As far as I am currently aware, they have shown no desire to actually improve on graphical fidelity. People have seen the infamous double kick animation, and they've seen the low poly environmental assets. I think all of that alone says that if their goal was to improve graphics, then they're already off to a bad start. Now, let's give Game Freak the benefit of the doubt. Let's say, for instance, that the low poly trees and the lack of animations on some attacks is a beta thing, and that's a thing that'll be improved later. Okay, I'm willing to give Game Freak the benefit of the doubt as someone who wants to get into game design. I am willing to go, maybe they just didn't feel the need to finish some things for their trailers. Cool. Alright. Let's just give them that. But then we run into a problem. See, the problem we run into is the fact that we know that the way the Pokemon are modeled is really dumb. So, some common observations I found online, and I personally have double-checked and believe is true, is that when you Dynamax a Pokemon, there are these 3 clouds that spawn around it. And these clouds, signify how many turns you have left on the Dynamax. So, these 3 clouds seem to spawn at the exact same time as the model, as if they were part of the Dynamaxed model. Now, the problem with that is that that means that there is probably at minimum 4 Pokemon models. Yeah, let's say 4. Now, that would mean that there is 1 different model for each turn of Dynamax. So, let's refer them as Dynamax 3, 2, 1, and 0. So, when you first Dynamax a Pokemon, you call Dynamax Model 3. On the next turn, Dynamax Model 3 is replaced with Dynamax Model 2, so on and so forth, until you get to Dynamax Model 0, in which case, I hope to God what happens is that they recall the Dynamax model, and Dynamax 0 shrinks back down to the normal state. Now, there are some worries, both from myself and the internet at large, that Dynamax 0 and the standard model are 2 different things. These are 2 different models. That brings the count up to 5. And the reason why people are worried about this is because, and I don't know the details on this because I didn't play Pokemon Let's Go, but everything I've heard says that in Pokemon Let's Go, there are 20 some odd different models for Lily, which makes me wonder what happens in Pokemon Go that would require them to separately model Lily 20 different times and not just have a base model and call other accessories onto the base model as needed. So, knowing that, Game Freak has me worried knowing that. And they have me worried because this is a main series Pokemon game. And I wonder, are they prioritizing town? Oh, for anyone who isn't aware, town is the project name for a little, what I think is a RPG that Game Freak is making alongside Sword and Shield. Now, I get not wanting to have all your eggs in one basket. I think that's fine. I personally enjoyed Harmonite, so I think Game Freak branching out is ultimately a good thing. My problem is that Game Freak, as far as I am aware, is one development team in one studio. Or at least they have been up until now. And because they are suddenly multiple teams, two of them working on two separate projects, I don't know how the staff is divided up. And I don't know what's scarier. The idea that the main series Pokemon game is getting shafted because all of their talent is working on town, or that this might actually be their talent and town is being developed by new blood who had been gathered and recruited just for town. Both ideas are worrying. I think the former is more realistic, but both ideas are very concerning to me. Now, also, just as a brief note, regarding no Megas and no Z moves, I actually think this is also fine. I understand their desire for Dynamax to just absorb both. And under normal circumstances, I would think that is okay. But again, what Game Freak is saying and what they're doing are two different things. And this one, unfortunately, I am willing to chop up to just petty ignorance. Or simple ignorance? I don't know. Words, adjectives. See, according to Game Freak, one of the big reasons why Dynamax just sort of absorbed both Megas and Z moves is because, is for gameplay balance. And this is also part of the national dex, but whatever. Let's focus on it. Again, I would be okay with the national dex going away if it meant more fine-tuned balance. But with Dynamax, no. That's gonna make your balancing issues worse in the long run, Game Freak. Trust me on this. See, here's the problem. Any Pokemon on your team can be Dynamaxed. Just click that funky little Dynamax button, and there you go. You have a Dynamax Pokemon. Now, this is an issue for gameplay balance. See, with Z moves, you could just pick one Pokemon to be your anchor to finish off the opponent, and they would have to consume an item slot for their once per match big dumb finisher. And you know what? That's fine. Actually, that's pretty good balance-wise. You are forcing the player to make a decision. And with Megas, you can only have one on your team, and a lot of Pokemon who got Mega Forms are Pokemon who aren't very powerful competitively. I wish they would have expanded on metas, or Megas actually. Just take a look at Smogon, look at the lowest tier non-legendary Pokemon, and go, which one of these could make for an interesting Mega evolution? Helped out a lot for some Pokemon. But no, the problem with Dynamax is that any Pokemon can Dynamax. And to my knowledge, it doesn't take up an item slot to Dynamax. So, basically what you're saying is whatever Pokemon is going to be the team sweeper anyways is just going to get the Dynamax. You're not making the player give up an item slot for a big dumb move or a power boost. Unless your name is Rayquaza. You are instead telling the player you get a free Kaiju for 3 turns based on any Pokemon on your team. So why wouldn't the player just pick what is already the strongest Pokemon on their team for that? Seriously. Why not just pick the strongest Pokemon on your team? Like, say I was running a Rain Dance team. Okay. Why wouldn't I just, I don't know. Actually, I don't know competitive teams that well. I don't know competitive team building, okay? This was really bad to start with. I only know, like, weather teams. I only paid attention to competitive during Gen 5 and Gen 6, and Gen 6 was Megas and Gen 5 was Weather War, so sorry for a moment. Okay. So, let's... Okay, so here's something you can do. Alright, say you're playing doubles. Take a Slacking. Alright. Let's use Simple Beam on it. Sure. So it doesn't just do nothing every other turn. Okay. Now Dynamax that. What's stopping me from doing that, Game Freak? What is stopping me from just picking the strongest, most BS Pokemon on my team and just Dynamaxing that? What's stopping me from Dynamaxing my Garchomp or my Megagross or my Dragonite? Yeah, I know Dragonite's coming back. They said all Gen 1 is coming back. So what's stopping me from Dynamaxing my big fucking dragon? Nothing. And that's already a pseudo-legendary. That is already one of the strongest Pokemon in the game, statistically. Just by base stat. What's stopping me from Dynamaxing it? Nothing. Now with Megas. Oh, see, with Megas, I would have to Mega my Garchomp, let's say, if I wanted a pseudo-legendary to be my Mega. Now, why in the fuck they gave Garchomp a Mega, I don't know. That was a silly fucking move on their part. Why the hell would you give Garchomp a Mega? But never mind that. or my Salamence. Again, why the fuck they would give a pseudo-legendary Omega, I don't know. I don't get Game Freak sometimes, but... yeah, what's stopping me? Actually, what is stopping me? Oh yes, this is the camera angle I want. Or do you expect us to just always Dynamax our Wooloo? Do you want us to just always Dynamax our weakest Pokemon as a comeback mechanic? I mean, yeah, that's a good thought. The fact that you can Dynamax any of your Pokemon, that makes that possible. But realistically speaking, you're only going to Dynamax there are only 2 times you're going to Dynamax. Under normal circumstances, as far as I am currently aware with my admittedly mediocre predictive skills. Circumstance 1 is when your sweeper is fully set up. Baton Pass into Dynamax. Lay waste. Number 2 is reactive Dynamaxing. Switching to your wall and Dynamax. So that you can block the opponent Dynamaxing. And in the single player, alright? Here's the thing with that. In single player, when you're going through the gyms, you know what the most common time you're probably going to end up Dynamaxing is? Reactively, when the gym leader Dynamax. Every gym battle will conclude with a big, dumb kaiju fight. And that's going to be fucking great the first time. That might even be fucking great the first couple of times. The first few times. But then you're going to realize that is every fight. Every online match and every major battle in the single player is going to end with a big, dumb kaiju fight. And you know what? That can get old. I don't know how fast it will get old. I can't say my predictive skills are that strong. But eventually it will get old. And when it does get old, people will just come to accept that that is Pokemon now. And when Gen 9 rolls around, there will be no more Dynamax. That will be just a cool, weird thing Gen 8 did. Because this is Game Freak. This is a company who believes that the best way to entice people to play older games is to remove features in the next game. This is a company who does not want to make a feature-complete product. Yes, they will make a product that certainly feels finished, but we will never get a product that has had every feature of every previous main series game. That's just how Game Freak is. And you know what? Above everything else, above the potential competency issues, above the dumb reasoning, above the lies. That's why I'm probably not going to end up buying Sword and Shield. This is a company who removes features regularly, who believes that the fan base, who believes that games should only be about the next big spectacle, who does not believe that games should evolve. Ironically enough, given one of the primary features of Pokemon is evolution, both of your character and of your partners. But we're never going to get a game that has everything all previous games have had. And maybe I'm asking for a lot. I am willing to admit that maybe I'm asking for a lot. But, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the possibility that I'm being one of those selfish, entitled gamers Twitter keeps yelling about. If it means that I can stick to my guns. Because if I ever do start making games, I will want to make games that are complete products. Because even if it ends up being absolute shit, it will be complete. If I ever make a game that requires a day one patch to be playable, if I ever make a sequel that lacks key important features from the previous game, I will have failed. And I'm okay with that. And I hope somewhere down the line, and I hope that if that does happen, somewhere down the line, someone will have remembered to keep this video intact, keep it around, and show it to me on the day that I might get consumed by whatever corporate power keeps corrupting people's desires when they play or when they make games. And if that day comes and someone shows me this, then I hope that I will listen to what I'm saying now and understand my own starting point. Because the real reason I don't want to buy Pokemon Sword and Shield is because I wouldn't want to make what we are currently seeing of Pokemon Sword and Shield. And that's as simple as that.